Hey! One particular Scooby series I have shockingly neglected on the channel is also my favorite series not from the original era. Mystery Incorporated was a series I followed from the premiere in 2010 to the sabotaged and messy end in 2013, running a dedicated Tumblr and being heavily invested in the intricate and wonderful story. It was a series with an actual ongoing plot, and after a certain point, you couldn't tune in and understand what was going on without being lost, which was one of the many reasons it was slowly killed off. I just saw people say if you like this show, you're a Scooby-Doo live-action role-player, as the children say. So if liking this show means I'm live-action role-playing liking Scooby and I'm not a real fan, so be it. Much as I loved the heavily blotted aspect so much and why it's my favorite, it also makes it a lot harder to make a video about it that isn't an equally intricate and long deep dive. Hence my only time fully touching it being my dive into Velma's canonical queerness written into the show. And just about everything else has been covered as much as Zombie Island now, because this show went from being niche back in the day to rightfully beloved and respected. Everyone knows this show, everyone's made a video about it. We're even getting a complete series Blu-ray finally. At least early on though. There are a few episodes now and then that do not connect deeply to the main story. The kind of episode you might skip entirely when talking about the lore, but are still amazing episodes of the show. And people have really been asking to see more on this series I do so love more than I can say. So why don't we take a little look-see at one of those episodes that still needs some context, but you can mostly follow if you don't play Mystery Inc. Ball yet. And if you haven't seen the show, as I know there are some of you out there, please do. Today's episode also has some references to my favorite classic era series that we'll see when we get there, so it really is a match made in heaven for me uniting my favorites. If this one does well enough, really just watch and like and all that to let me know, we can purposefully dive into more of these. There are several I can think of that I want to talk about, so we can make that happen. For today though, we're starting close to the halfway point of the first season, Season 1, Episode 11, The Secret Serum, originally aired October 11th, 2010. Before we head in, this one does have a special guest star that might slip your radar. As the character Sheila, we have Beverly D'Angelo voicing her, who you might know best as the mom Ellen Griswold in the National Lampoon's Vacation film series. What you might not know is D'Angelo also worked at Hanna-Barbera, the studio behind the creation of Scooby, before turning to acting. Real full circle moment. Let's take a good look at this one. This episode opens up with a charity auction being held at the Crystal Cove Community Center, Crystal Cove being the hometown location of the gang here. If you're watching this episode and wondering why the auctioneer is randomly British, as voiced by Tom Kenny, it's because he's a direct parody of David Dickinson, appropriately an English antiques expert, and host of BBC's The Antique Show and Bargain Hunt, and ITV's Dickinson's Real Deal. They even got him down to the suit here. It seems Daphne's mom, Nan, is here with friend Sheila as the hosts.
What's our total so far, Sheila?
$34.
Oh, just imagine all the good $34 will do.
Coming up back to back here, we have our references to the new Scooby-Doo movies, my personal favorite entry in the classic era, as the next art piece is brought out, the spooky painting. The man bringing it to the display is none other than beloved actor Don Knotts, who starred in 2 episodes as himself on that show. I've covered every episode of that, so you can indeed go watch the video covering those if you have not and want to know more. In the very next shot, we have none other than Cass Elliot sitting in the audience here. The beloved singer wearing this exact outfit also portrayed herself in my favorite episode of that show, which I have 2 videos about if you want deep dives into it. The both of them also can be spotted here and there in other episodes of this. I do really love the appreciation it has for the original era of Scooby. I'm also pretty sure you can see Pebbles Flintstone back here. She and boyfriend Bam Bam Rubble from the Flintstones universe can be seen in an earlier episode. Anyway, nobody wants this freaky ass painting, except it seems the supernatural, as something breaks in and flies over the audience. As the eerie woman lands, asking for the painting, we can see she looks pretty much identical in a lot of aspects to the design of Count Orlok from the iconic 1922 horror film Nosferatu. So we have a Lady Nosferatu over here. The lights go out with everyone seeming to be trapped as she flies around. As the lights go back on, they find the spooky painting has been stolen with the vampire's disappearance. The episode takes us to the Blake family mansion, where we do have the minor continuity to consider. As discussed back in my Velma dedicated video, prior to this episode, Velma had been dating Shaggy, and it was really not working for them, one of the things many people hate. Ultimately, it would be revealed to be doomed regardless once Velma slowly discovers she's gay between seasons, eventually ending up in a very beloved relationship with another character. For now though, she and Shaggy have broken up in the prior episode, that realization not having happened yet, and the two causing tension between the gang. Now, you know what needs to be said as we get back into this. Fred being shirtless and still always retaining the ascot in the show was truly peak. You never ditch the ascot.
Booyah! Trapped!
Velma, despite Shaggy being the one to end it, still tries to get him to look at her with a new bikini, but wearing her full outfit over it still so that you can't even see it, as she does not want to get sunburned.
Give me a call when someone wants to make a leathery handbag out of your back fat.
Also, Fred trying to make her feel better is probably one of the most diabolical yet unintentional reads of the show.
With the sun reflecting off your pale, colorless skin, we can blind the monster and just push him into the pool with the cement already in it. Genius!
It's moments like this where you can tell the same team that were making the Looney Tunes show also did this. Also love the gibberish on the newspaper. Nan then comes out to complain about the vampire ruining her auction the prior night. While here, Nan is voiced by Kath Soucie, who is basically the quintessential animated mom voice. Even in the Mystery Machine episode of What's New I covered before, she was the mom there. She's the modern Kanga in Boo stuff, Dexter's mom, Danny Phan's mom, Phil and Liz's mom on top of voicing both of them, Agent K in The Replacements, Helga's mom in Hey Arnold, and that's just the tip of the iceberg on moms, not even getting into her iconic non-mom roles. Anyway, mysteries.
Quick, Velma, set your milky whiteness for stun.
That night, everyone is awkward about getting in the Mystery Machine, Velma refusing to go if Shaggy's there, so Daphne suggests they split.
It's too early. We can't split up until we get to a haunted amusement park or a terrifying cavern.
Shaggy agrees though, so we go boys versus girls for the teams tonight. Shag does seem to enjoy the front seat though, so I guess that's a small win. Daphne has meanwhile treated Velma to pedicures instead of clue hunting, and does some good shit talking about boys. Velma suddenly sees Nan put on a cloak in an odd manner and leaving the home. Even more odd given she said she was afraid of the dark back in the second episode. Daphne calls her back and Nan says she's going to the grocery store for pate, which sets off alarm bells for Daphne since her mom is allergic to duck. As such, she makes Velma give up her nicer plans to see what's really going on. Fred meanwhile has checked the local blood bank to see if they've had any vampires, coming up empty on results.
Is that blood? Oh no, I just snagged a Red Punch juice box and spilled some. They've got tons hanging all over the place.
Ow! As Nan skulks around, the two girls have difficulty keeping up and lose her.
She's a freak! She's the fastest mom alive!
They see a light on at the botanical gardens, and if it's her, it continues to be weird given her hatred of nature.
She hates anything she doesn't have to pay for.
Out in a more peaceful part of town, the guys all sit on the Mystery Machine's roof as Shaggy complains about not understanding girls when they hear a horrific scream down the hill. They head to the same place as the girls, prepared to catch a vampire, while Velma and Daph look inside.
Ew, it smells like that stuff you put on plants to help them grow.
You mean poo?
Fred has since prepared a trap, and as someone approaches, they set it off and trap the girls. With that over, the vampire swoops over them, appearing behind them in a pretty freaky shot here, forcing them to run. The Lady Nosferatu makes a lot of genuinely off-putting screeches and starts to attack Shaggy as the garden manager comes in, so she lunges to attack him and disappears. In the aftermath, the manager sees the star orchid has been stolen, but why would a vampire need some painting and an orchid? They head to the Spook Museum run by Velma's amazing mom, who if you did not know, is voiced by the legendary Frances Conroy, who people might know these days best for her American Horror Story characters in the more recent times. She's on the phone talking about her order of Sumatran rat monkeys from Skull Island, which is a reference to the Peter Jackson film Brain Dead, aka Dead Alive.
Those things get stale fast.
The gang come up to ask her about what she can offer about vampires, so she very cheerfully takes them to the section of books with anything you could ever need to research. Best parent in the show, honestly. Imagine your mom being this batty. Daphne sees a shadow and follows it, a book mysteriously falling off the shelf, and every time she puts it back, it just falls off again, begging her to take the hint. The person pushing it finally whispers that the answers she seeks are inside, leading her to open it and find this Halloween issue of Celebrity Weekly, and nobody on the other side of the shelves. She takes the magazine to the others who exhausted the books there, revealing a page showing Countess Hagula's youth juice, showing the 4 essential ingredients to gain eternal youth. Yes, I did read the article on the other page dragging this man in a suit. Yes, I did see the typo where they forgot the E and none in it. Velma points out the first 2 ingredients indeed are the specific pigment from the stolen painting and pollen of a star orchid. So that's that! The vampire for some reason wants to make the youth juice, so they just have to look to the remaining ingredients to catch her. Why did the magazine switch from real words to gibberish here? Anyway, next is a wine of a very specific vintage that would only be at one specific restaurant here in town, the Crabnet of Dr. Calamari. If it's not obvious, this indeed is a reference to the iconic 1920 horror film, The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, which entirely by coincidence I just recently gave a fresh watch to. People aren't kidding when they call this the father of horror cinema. The gang head back to the Blake mansion to change for Dr. Calamari's strict dress code, where they find Sheriff Stone being dismissed for accusing Nan of being the vampire. We then see her friend Sheila walk up, scaring the teens.
Oh, Nan, don't you worry your flawlessly skinned, perfectly coiffed head about this. It's just a misunderstanding.
The sliding in was not creepy at all. Daphne decides she needs to clear her mother's name, so they get back to action at the restaurant. This is what they chose to dress in for the code, by the way. No, it does not seem to be accurate.
Oui, 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 oui.
They get turned down without a reservation, so Shaggy and Daphne try to say they need to go wee if you get my drift.
Oh yeah, me too. Wee.
I'm good. I went before we left. Ooh.
Shocked it worked, honestly. Places less classy will turn you down for that. Unfortunately, Daphne does see her mother and Sheila eating here, having somehow made it before them. They ditch the Fitz and head into the wine cellar, but Velma protests her being paired with Shaggy, which he agrees with. As tensions rise, Velma starts to wonder if perhaps they're not a team anymore. Before the thought can settle, the vampire screeches in and leaves them in darkness, jumping to stop them from escaping as she asks for the wine. She chases them all over for a good while until they run into this cage that she conveniently locks the door on, ensuring they're now trapped in here and she can do what she wants. How are they gonna get out? They don't explain it. As the wine is procured, Daphne still protests it being her mom at least.
I don't think.
That just leaves one more ingredient as the Lady Nosferatu fades into the shadows. The gang sit in the van as the heavy weight of their inner drama sits on them, Fred looking over the final ingredient that seems to be a priceless cursed ruby called the Devil's Eye. Daphne recognizes it from its beauty, and Velma finds it's currently on display at the Darrow University Oddities Museum. 6 episodes from this, in Escape from Mystery Manor, we hear a lot more about the Darrow family in a lore-heavy episode that's also riffing on the Saw movies. They head to the museum for our first look at that part of the town for now, though, where the ruby is on display temporarily. And talk about oddities, there are plenty of weird and freaky things going on in this museum. The ruby is almost out of place. The gang have managed to have a whole trap ready by now. Kinda surprised they got away with it in a place I assume has to have some serious security. Velma still isn't sure about the motive if this is a real vampire, as they don't age, so why does she need an eternal youth potion? They hear someone enter and prepare, but Daphne sees it's Nan walking by, seeming to confirm to her that it's her mom after all as she runs and disrupts the trap. While she's doing that, the vampire is already above and goes after the boys, ruining the trap and causing a shocking amount of damage. Again, how did they even get in here? Daphne shouts for her mom to stop, but the vampire simply walks up and takes her ruby of eternal youth.
Oh, I don't think so, ghoul friend.
Indeed, Velma switched the rubies, so that one is fake. And I again wonder how they got through security to do that. I can't accept it would have been allowed. Fred deploys the second trap, and nothing happens. Oops, love his awkward little laugh. Scooby thinks it over, however, and runs to drop the trap himself, successfully nabbing the vampiress this time.
Mom, your vampiring is tearing this family apart. I'm going to have to stake you.
The concept of having to stake your own mom. She's taken it pretty well though, all things considered. With this threat, the vampire shouts that she is in fact not one, and chooses to unmask herself, revealing that she is Sheila. As they ask why, she points out that her looks are beginning to fade.
You're gorgeous.
Your skin is as tight as my ascot.
She then pins it on Nan, as they're the same age, but she still remained beautiful as if a teenager. Because of this, she believes that Nan is really a vampire, so she went to Mrs. Dinkley's shop to research the species. She found that recipe for youth juice, believing it can make her young and beautiful like Nan forever. In college, she had majored in zoology and acrobatics, studying the habits of flying squirrels. Hokey smokes, Bullwinkle. She used that to propel herself into the air with her quad and glute muscles to give the illusion of a vampire, which really does not make sense, but we will smile and nod nonetheless. Daphne suggests she could have worn less makeup or a cuter haircut or some mildly offensive Daphneisms, but Sheila truly feels the youth serum was her only hope, as Nan cuts off her villain moment.
Ugh! Even now she's stealing my moment.
Daphne expresses her relief that she is not a horrible undead monster to her very confused mother and asks why she's here, Nan revealing she's been secretly taking night classes to get her public notary degree. She tells her daughter knowledge is the key to true beauty, a surprisingly thoughtful thing to say, and then leaves so she can figure out what a notary even is before the final exam. Right. Sheriff Stone takes our Lady Nosferatu away, leaving the gang still in a very awkward state they started in, all leaving one by one in a downer mood. Watching them, however, is the man who made sure Daphne found that magazine earlier, a bald-headed man using binoculars. This is Ed Machine. He works for our main antagonist, Mr. E, and we don't have to talk about him today, as he fades into the dark. And that's the Secret Serum. When I think of this show these days, I tend to think of the deeper lore episodes and events, such as Ed Machine there at the end, and everything going on with that. The earlier episodes where things were often still disconnected from the main plot tend to be easier to forget, not because they aren't good, but because I like the rest of it so much. But for an episode that's maybe 99% standalone and not connected to that, this really is one of the more fun episodes, especially if you prefer the comedic part of the show and not the darker aspects that come later. It has a lot of deeply memorable moments that are some of my favorite I always think of and remember. Most of these more standalone episodes really have iconic and amazing moments that are beautiful. The references to the new Scooby-Doo movies here obviously are something that really will stand out, but Velma's bikini and Fred's comments about her also kill me every time I watch this. Fred spilling blood on him without even realizing it also is insane, and the French nonsense. Our vampire villain also is a nice enough design. The inspiration being an icon of horror does give her a good amount of aura, and her screeching can be very effective. Daphne believing her own mother to potentially be said villain also really does stand out as well, especially in a series where they make the families more prominent and recurring so that it would actually have weight if it were true, unlike a series where it might just be a special episode and they never appear again. Nan is probably one of the less bad overall parents in general, considering how deeply horrible some of them are. Shaggy's, for example. She mainly just has airhead rich person disease along with her husband. Like every episode she's in, Velma's mom really does steal the show. There's a very good reason why she has such prominence later, and she will always be Velma's mom even if they change her someday. The relationship drama really does not bother me like other people. I actually love it for what it is. It's very teen drama, and it's really the only thing keeping this episode rooted in the greater continuity of the moment. Being just about right in the middle, this really is that middle point of an episode you could come into and mostly get or understand, and still having tons of memorable and enjoyable moments. The girls going solo, or the boys, it gives us some interesting perspectives and moments where we really don't see these pairings often. By the end of the show, all their inner relationships have worked out. It would almost be weird if such a close group of friends never had any problems. I've said it many times, but people act like the characters being sarcastic and making fun of each other in friendly ways was invented for this series and is highly out of character. But go back and watch the original episodes. Velma especially is deeply snarky and sarcastic. They all love to bully each other as friends, and this series is just taking that and modernizing it. I stand by that. People hating this show for being too different from original Scooby will turn around, watch Guess Who, and tell you it also sucks for being too similar to the original Scooby. I like that show just fine, but between the two, I'm picking the one that takes chances and brings something new to the table, even if it makes me a fake fan and live-action role player. If anything, the people saying these characters weren't snarky in the original are the live-action role players. The original show still exists and is not negated by this, or by watching it, and I think people forget how similar it is in a lot of those ways. From those little references like the guest stars and so many things you see in other episodes, this series has such a deep love and respect for the franchise in a way that often doesn't seem to be recognized. I find the chemistry of these versions of the characters infinitely enjoyable. I could stop and watch it really forever. And if you liked looking at this particular episode, definitely like the video so I know, and maybe we'll look at some of the others someday. I said this on the Patreon, but this is very much a series I need to find my way back to, because the last time I watched it was a full series watch that was very happy at the time, but now has some negative connotations emotionally attached to the series for me, and it's difficult to watch it again and not be stuck on those times. Writing this video took more days than it should have for a video that really should only have been a single day at all, just because it was kind of draining to put my focus into. I kind of ruined my favorite series ever just because I wanted to share it with someone. Don't do that, by the way. If you're thinking of doing that, don't do it. If you don't want to end up bitter and hateful like Velma in this episode and part of the series, which is now how I live, do not do that. That's our little moral lesson for the day, as we see the gang in a horrible state because they might as well have done that. Anyway, if you like the video and want to support the channel directly, the Patreon is now live for that specific purpose. As a thank you, you get the exclusive videos on the rest of the entire original direct-to-video movies, Zombie Island, Witch's Ghost, and the new 45-minute 25th anniversary video on Cyber Chase. Also, Clue Club episodes 2 and 3 with more to come, and the Wheel of Scooby series, which also has 2 episodes of Mystery Incorporated, such as the Krampus episode, but spoilers galore on that one. Anyway, that's all we have for today, so I suppose I will see you whenever it is that I next see you. Bye!